Hey, Mark.
Good evening.
Good evening. Welcome to the Parks and Rec Committee meeting. Today is August 5th. It is 5:30 p.m. If I could get a roll call, please. Mindy?
Mrs. Cooper?
Here.
Mrs. Crawford?
Here.
Mr. Long?
Here.
3 present, we have quorum.
Good evening. Welcome to the Parks and Rec Committee meeting. Today is August 5th. It is 5:30 p.m. If I could get a roll call, please. Mindy? Mrs. Cooper? Here. Mrs. Crawford? Here. I think so. I should check it out. Okay. Okay, we'll try.
Yeah, it's recording and it's live.
And technical difficulties. Moving on. I'm looking for an approval of the minutes from the July 1st Parks meeting.
I'll make a motion.
I will second that motion. We could get a roll call, please.
Mrs. Crawford?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Long? 3 yeas, motion approved.
Thank you. Are there any visitors that would like to speak to the Parks and Rec Committee this evening?
Well, we're gonna have Aaron come up and do a presentation. We don't have any visitors, but we do have an announcement of a new employee. So let's do that.
Yes, so in the audience, we have Adam Teach. He is the engineering technician. His first day was on Monday. He comes to us from GSI, which is a company that does material testing, that has a lot of construction in his background. He's already been out to J.R. Smith Park, so he's aware of what's going on over at that $3.5 million project. As well as a lot of the other construction that's going on. So please, if you see him out and about, or if you have questions, his email is, no, I'm just kidding. Please feel free to reach out to him via email. I'm happy to give his contact information.
What's his title?
Engineering technician.
Welcome to the family.
Great.
And then did you want to move to Mr. Noblet after?
I think
Is he on the, he's not on the agenda in any specific?
well, he's gonna do the presentation on the Old Orchard Park.
Oh, okay, then we will just transition right into unfinished business with Old Orchard Park. And then I would like to invite Mr. Noblet up to the podium.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me. I'm Aaron Noblet, consulting arborist with the city, talking about potential management strategies for Old Orchard Park. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Just a comparison, Rosecrans Park on the left here compared to Old Orchard. Rosecrans is basically a mature woods where you have, just a mature stand of oak, hickory, beech, maple. And there isn't much you have to do to make it beautiful other than keep out the invasives, which we've been doing over the last handful of years, where Old Orchard is what you would consider the early stages of forest succession, where it was a old orchard with some apple trees. Otherwise, I'm assuming it was just kind of cleared land. And then it was just left unmanaged. So what you get is this kind of explosion of growth that kind of just is real thick and some people might say unsightly, but you get a combination of beneficial native vegetation and exotic invasives that don't belong there. So that's kind of a summary of just, and with time, over decades and decades, with proper management, it will eventually look more like Rosecrans and, be more appealing and a healthy forest. If that's the goal of the city. So I guess go to the next slide.
Can I ask a question on that slide though? Is the majority of what I'm looking at Old Orchard Park trees or invasive other stuff or
It's
both?
a combination.
Okay.
So you've got native trees and maybe some exotic invasives like calorie pear. Luckily, not a lot of the flowering pear has moved in there. More of the invasives being the understory where you've got, I'll get into that in a little bit.
Okay.
Want to go to the next slide. So what can we do to help speed up recovery? Just the most basic thing we could do if we were to, say we don't have a lot of resources to put into this park, we just want to do, just the bare bones, it would be kind of a routine annual or maybe 2 times a year invasive species removal project. Where we're removing the honeysuckle, privet, multiflora rose, poison hemlock, flowering pear, and Japanese barberry, and there's probably some in there that I'm missing. So getting those invasives out of there so that the beneficial native vegetation can thrive, because it kind of chokes it out. And if you leave it too long, it can be just, get even worse and be harder to manage. And then if there's openings to plant Ohio natives, to help that process along, we could plant trees and shrubs and, pollinator friendly flowering plants as well in the process.
Is the removal of invasive species something that our services team can do with your supervision?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, just identifying, that's the biggest thing, is making sure we're not removing beneficial plants. So making sure that we're properly identifying it. And it's not huge stuff. So you can cut it and then very carefully treat it with an herbicide, like basically paint it on the stump. If we're able to totally uproot it, then we don't have to use herbicides at all. But sometimes that's not feasible because, plants are just too big.
So you're not talking about big machinery or?
Well, it depends. I'll get into that a little down the road. It depends on the vision that the city has for it. But for the majority of the park, I would say, and I did quite a bit of investigating to figure out, okay, what's actually back here? It may look like weeds, but there's a lot of good stuff in there mixed in with stuff that we don't want in there. So I think for the majority of the park, I think kind of hand selectively removing the invasives and leaving it natural and letting it go through that cycle of forest succession. It's going to take a while, but if I'll get into it later, where if we wanted to have a heavier hand managing an area, I've got some ideas for that too, so.
But for step one, likely our services team could do the work with your
Yeah,
supervision and knowledge.
yeah, it'd be good, I don't know, it'd be nice to do it when the ticks aren't as active, like early winter. And just, maybe designate a few days to it and just once a year go at it until we get it under control. And unfortunately, you can't just say, okay, we're done now. Then you have to be proactive and just you kind of get a feel for, okay, this likes to pop up here. But once you get the bulk of it done after those first several years, then
You can identify that stuff when it's cold out.
yeah. And then it's just kind of like proactive maintenance from there. If we designate it, year after year, and then it's just kind of like it pops up and you're being more proactive and reactive. So if you want to go to the next slide. Grapevine is it's basically, that's an apple tree. It's totally consumed with grapevine. So from an aesthetic, grapevine is native, it's beneficial to wildlife, but in this case, it's just, it's choking out trees that we would want. It's choking out some of the old apple trees, but it's choking out black walnuts and hackberries and other trees that we would want to release. And so I would say grapevine control would be important at this stage. Carefully, cutting it and carefully treating the fresh cut stump with an herbicide. That alone, getting the grapevine under control and the invasives is going to really, from the aesthetics of the park, it won't look like as much of just a rat's nest. Go on to the next slide. So like critical features in this park is Prairie Creek does run through it, and it also runs through Evening Street Park on the other side of Granville Street. So like thinking of Prairie Creek as we want to preserve riparian buffers on both sides of the creek, which would be a vegetated area that acts as a filter. So contamination, contaminants, pollutants that might be coming down into the creek can be taken up by the trees, and it basically just acts like filtration to protect the water quality of the creek. So if you were to ask like Delaware County Soil and Water Conservation District, they're gonna say anywhere that you can have a riparian buffer, a healthy riparian buffer along the creek is good, you know, because this creek spills into Hoover Reservoir, which is the drinking water for a bunch of municipalities south of us, so just kind of being good stewards of the creek. So I would say within the park, definitely preserving the forest that is adjacent to the creek as much as possible and just focus on invasives there. Again, Delaware County Soil and Water that's kind of their bread and butter, what their goals are for protecting water quality and their, you know, soil erosion. So they're really up to speed on that. If you want to go to the next slide. On the other side of Granville Street, where the library side, you know, I would like to get their opinion, Delaware County Soil and Water, where you can see the grass goes all the way up to the creek. We did plant a row of bald cypress and some swamp white oaks there, but I know that they like to talk about creating no mow zones where you allow the vegetation to grow up, of course, trying to get natives to take over, and then they kind of have it on a rowing rotation, which creates a buffer. And then planting trees to create shade, which will cool the water, which the hotter the water is, the more you're gonna get bacterial growth. And so considering maybe seeing what they would say for maybe managing that side of the creek a little better, so we're not, because I'm assuming they may be putting lawn chemicals straight up to the edge there. So that would be something to consider. We do have some really good trees growing though, so that's a good start, but I know that they might be big on no mow zones where you kind of create a meadow along the creek and then allow trees or plant trees in combination. And that could go in the NPDES report as being proactive. It could go into the Tree City USA report that we're creating riparian buffers along Prairie Creek. And basically any creek the city is responsible for, that's a good idea. Where Franklin Soil and Water, they'd be the ones to help out with that. If you want to go to the next slide. At the back of the park, there's kind of a grassy meadow area. It's got a lot of goldenrod and wing stem and some other good stuff. But it also has poison hemlock, which is a pretty nasty plant. Jake last year did the service department did some management of that, but it pops up every year. So within the meadow area at the back of the park, really going after that poison hemlock is critical. The time to hit that is in March when it's about that high off the ground, and just spray it when it's low, because it gets to be 8 to 10 feet tall and makes, you're spraying everything else around. So, and just a word on that, the property behind Old Orchard, where the meadow is that the HOA owns, is just covered in poison hemlock. So it'd be good to maybe work in combination with them and see if they'd be interested in helping manage it. Otherwise, the seed's just going to keep blowing over. And then it is a pretty neat little meadow area, though. It'd be beneficial for pollinators and wildlife. So maybe figuring out what's the best way to manage that. Should it be mowed every 3 years? Could we sprinkle other seeds in there to get, more flowering plants going that are native? Controlling invasives, you could put up bluebird boxes. So there's a lot of things that could go on the meadow side at the back of the park. That's the old nested plant back behind there for reference. So it's kind of neat to have it there. Because it is different than the forested section of the park. If we want to go to the next slide. So the old apple trees, they're in rough shape. They've a lot of them are half dead or covered in grapevine. So the idea of reviving them, I would say the ones that are healthy enough to keep them around, kind of prune out the dead. But the idea that it will ever be a functional orchard again, to grow apple trees is major maintenance with pruning and treatments. They're really susceptible to all kinds of fungal diseases. So, these places that are growing quality apples, whether they use an organic program or they're using synthetics, they're really spraying and controlling disease. So I would say it's nice to keep the old health apple trees that still have some life left to them, but in general, they're pretty dilapidated. So I think eventually just letting the Ohio native forest trees take over would be the ultimate goal in the long run. And,
So it definitely wouldn't be your recommendation to plant apple trees.
well, maybe in one section, I'll get,
Okay.
go to the next slide.
Yeah, that's where I was going
If
with
we wanted
it.
to go, like, just to kind of honor the history of the park, you know, around Johnny Appleseed, maybe some dwarf disease-resistant apple trees would be cool. I think that'd be a way to kind of commemorate the history of the park. But keeping it simple, you know, and that would be something manageable where they could be pruned and kept nice. Apple trees in general, I mean, they're wild, you know, like you should see like Lynn's Orchard, they're pruning those like constantly to keep them the way they look. So that would be an idea. If you want to go to the next slide. And then it's something, I'm almost finished here, but just something to consider if we did want to have a more heavily managed area of the park while it's going through those stages of forest succession. I thought it might be an idea to create like a natural play area where we would be more aggressive with mowing down the overgrowth. And if there'd be more like a focal point of the park, and it could be a place for, you know, benches for sitting, or a big thing now that parks are doing is they're using like rocks and tree stumps to create play spaces for kids.
Mhm.
So boulders, I would say only plant Ohio natives, except for the apple trees around Johnny. You know, it could look really pretty. And I don't know if, when I worked at New Albany, the developers would, as they were digging, they would stash the boulders off to the side and the city would come pick them up and put them in
Sure,
parks,
that's a good idea.
which was, and if I really want to go to the next slide. So this is in Rose Run Park in New Albany, an example of a play area like that. And it's kind of, this park, Rose Run, was right along Rose Run Creek, over by like between Market Street and 62, back behind the library and Mellow Mushroom and all that. And it was just, it looked like Old Orchard when they started 15 years ago. And if you walk through it now, I mean, they heavily managed it, but it just kind of shows what it can look like with time and patience and kind of controlling the invasives. But that, you know, it's just a simple rocks, benches, logs, and Ohio native planting landscape. But if you're ever in the area there, it's really, that'd be a good representation of kind of what it could be.
And on the picture that you superimposed that onto ours, you had it sort of in front, like along Granville.
Yeah, it wouldn't have to be. I mean, it could be wherever makes sense.
Yeah.
And the concern that I would have is like, how high does the flooding? That, because we wouldn't want to like put mulch and plants there and then it floods away. So
Yeah, so up higher
maybe up
would
there
make sense.
and figuring out how high the water comes, you know, when we get extreme rainfall. But I don't know if, I was just thinking maybe visible from Granville just because.
Kind of pretty.
Focal point. But just an idea, if we wanted to do something a little more heavy-handed with management. And you know, a lot of that, what would be removed in the process, you probably have to like use a forestry grinder and preserve whatever trees are, you know, you want to keep in the process, but for the most part, a lot of it would go, and I don't think we'd be cutting down anything special, you know, so.
What's
But-
that material on the ground then? Is that just
I think just mulch.
mulch?
Yeah, they just mulch, boulders, some benches. But they definitely planted only Ohio native landscaping plant, which is common in most parks these days. So, I'm gonna go to the next slide. I think that's all I have, really.
I have a question. Do you think there's enough room to do something like this and still have some of the dwarf apple trees?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't measure it out or anything. I was just trying to come up with. I walked through the park with Preservation Parks, their resource manager, and they were talking about how they like to do these natural play areas and each opportunity they get. So just, and Charmar Park, if you've ever been back there, they're kind of like a little thing along the side of the creek. But yeah, I think there'd be room, and you know, depending on how big we would want this space to be, but I think it could be like a good focal point, or as the rest of the park is going through the kind of the ugly stage, we would have a pretty spot, you know. And it's walking distance from downtown. People could walk down for coffee and whatever else. So just an idea.
It's a great idea.
I like it.
And it's right, it's just within walking distance of the apartments, of the communities.
Yeah, there's people back there quite a bit.
Yeah.
There's the connectivity
Mhm.
through the Highway Erie Trail, so it could potentially get a lot of traffic. So that's basically all I have.
Love it, Daryl.
I do too.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so, yeah, Aaron, thank you so much. We appreciate that. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously we've moved Johnny. We've talked about trying to do something with that park. This would be a relatively low cost option, at least to get started. As you've already checked out, I mean, sounds like our service team could do some of it, not all of it, but maybe to get ourselves started or something. So, yeah, I think what we're really looking for is
Potential collaboration with Delaware, with Franklin County, with their soil and everything he said.
yeah, I definitely jotted down some of those notes as well. I think
Yeah.
we've got a relationship with Soil and Water. We'll follow up with them regarding the
Like
creek.
he said with the Tree City, it's just a lot of good, it's all good. I think I'm hearing is, it's not terrible, we're not talking about a $4 million project here, but we are talking about things that are beneficial to the city and to our residents and potentially our younger residents as well, if we go that route, so.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll
And
keep,
it makes our passive park a little bit more enjoyable.
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll have the team. So we have our tree team. So that's Alyssa, Jake, Aaron. You know, kind of keep digging a little deeper, figure out what we could maybe do later this year, dig into next year, et cetera, et cetera. So.
I love it.
Like it.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Appreciate it.
Anything else to add, Mark?
I was,
You know,
I'm supportive of cleaning up that area. I know I've been through there a couple times with my kids. I know with the future development of that space, I know a lot of residents are already down there. I think that'd be a really great investment, long-term and short-term, as we continue forward. I like I'll say, less developed part of a park, right? So the idea of just walking through the woods than to have a huge development or expense of upkeep.
right, and we're doing that at
Right.
J.R. Smith,
We
so if
have
you're
that
looking
over
for
there.
that, we have it there, and then there's so many health benefits to kids just being in nature and playing on natural,
Absolutely.
so that
It's-
everyone can,
And it's supportive to just short walks too, and with your coffee in the morning, whatever you.
yeah, and as that area over there with Mr. Janelle's property gets developed, it's just a good spot.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Going.
Okay, do we have a J.R. Smith Park grant update? Yes.
So not as big of an update as I was hoping for this month. We got a quote on some additional items and I didn't receive it until an hour before the meeting. So I'll have more to share on that next month, but on packet page 19 slide. So these are some items that were removed from the bid documents that we reached out to our playground supplier. So we can get all of these back with the ODNR funding.
We removed these for financial reasons. Okay.
And then now with the extra funds from ODNR, we can bring all of them back and add to it as well. So the drinking fountain with the refillable water bottle, the grill, about 6 benches, and a bike rack.
I remember years ago, too, and the bench that you're showing here has them, but I remember years ago having somebody from, I think it was Source Point maybe out and recommended when we put benches in that we have those side handles on them, like it's showing in that picture. So I just want to make sure we do that. It helps with getting in and out of benches, I remember.
And those are also the same ones we have at the reservoirs too, so.
Yeah, perfect.
Keeping it consistent.
Yeah.
I don't have pricing on all of it yet. Well, I have to dive into it, but this was included in the quote. If you want to go to the next slide. So additional items that we asked him to get pricing for was some shade covered benches, some swings, especially.
We don't have any.
We don't have swings, and we were looking, sorry, if you want to go back to space too. So right over in this area would be where the swings would go. There's enough space because you have to have that, essentially, I believe it was 20 feet on each side for the swings for the safety zone. So that's essentially where they would go. Sorry, we can go back to more. Yeah. And we would do a 3-bay, so 6 swings total, and we would do 2 of the ADA, 2 regular, and then 1 toddler, and then 1 tandem swing as well. It can be covered or cannot be covered, either or. But we were looking at the benches with the shade covering at the splash pad and the playground. If you want to go to the next one. So these are just some shade structures that we received quotes for. These would be at the splash pad. So maybe 2 or 3, probably 1 on each side, just so to offer, because right now there's no shade, and since we have this extra funding, we can now get the more extra amenities, essentially. So
No shade other than trees that
yeah.
will be a little bit small at first.
Sure. So at a quick glance of the quotes, all of that plus these shade structures, we only hit maybe 135,000 max. So we still have a lot more. So we can do more if you guys like the direction of this, and we are looking into the security cameras. We are going to coordinate with PD about that as well. So
I was just gonna ask about that. I know money came from a couple different places, but so with security or cameras.
Yeah.
I thought there was something else, not signs, because you guys are working on signs.
lighting, I think the lighting was
Yeah.
the other thing as well.
Or maybe like an entrance feature was something we talked about too.
The entrance feature, just like a separate one, like, so we have the,
It's just something we threw out.
yeah.
It was something that was pulled from the original plan since we were looking at signage.
Yeah, was it?
We could get quotes if that's something that committee would like to see.
Yes, I would.
I think it's important to keep in mind that we don't have to spend the money right now. We have time, so we can look at adding items, we can evaluate the park, and we can add
See
some
what we're
more.
missing.
Yeah, I think the key thing that we need to keep a lookout for now is anything that would be important to consider while it's under construction. That's certainly something we're looking at with some of the other funds, such as that pavement replacement around the Lions building, full depth replacement of the pavement that's below the Lions building. It was in disrepair. So we have some additional funding outside of the ODNR that we'll be able to utilize that for. But if we can put it as a change order into the existing contract, we'll save money on certain items. Other items may need to be designed at a later point in time and installed when we have a little bit more information, such as the park or the trail extensions that we discussed.
And this still includes like what you were telling us about with the sidewalk. Like that was all still in there.
Yes, so
'Cause that was a different.
yes, so Alyssa was talking about the ODNR funding and some of the items we value engineered and pulled out. We have very specific items that we need to utilize the earmarked $375,000 for parking improvements, sidewalk, trail extension, possibly some road and other improvements in the city street, just outside of the Lions Building. We're actually not touching that segment between the 37 widening project and when we do the mountable curb at Cherry Street. So that's the location we may be able to look at doing some improvements to maybe not have a gap in the brand new area, and then some landscape improvements as well.
Yeah, sounds good.
These items you're getting for a bid, it sounds like it's a matter of these, we probably have funding to do all of these. It's a matter of picking which ones we want.
Yeah, so these were initially included in the bid, but we removed them for cost reasons. But now with that additional funding from ODNR, we can now add all that stuff back in.
Okay.
Yeah, we had originally talked about potentially looking at donations to try and add some of this back, but now that we have funding, I think that's the avenue we're going to go. But if you do know someone who wants to sponsor a bench,
So,
something that would be available.
Melissa, do you know at other parks if these grills are utilized, if folks use these at parks?
I think they do. I personally have never grilled out on them, but I think I've seen other people do. I know. So my parents live across from Hannah Park, so I grew up there in Gahanna, and that they always use that grill. That grill's used all the time. If you look at it, it's all charred and everything. So
And we would place them, I would suppose, near the pavilion.
yeah, near the shelter house, but at a safe distance for fire.
Is it just one grill or is
Yeah, we
there
just have
room to
one.
do two or?
We could do two. I don't know how. I think one would probably be plenty, but if we want to do two, we can definitely do two.
It says grill on here. Is that what you added?
Yeah, we had it originally. Yeah, if you want to circle the grill up on the shelter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we just had one initially that was
Okay.
removed. But-
I know Berkshire Township just installed a newer facility by the Township Administrative Building.
Mhm.
And I saw their grill and it's already been utilized, so.
Okay, I
I
was
don't-
just curious.
I
I
don't
wasn't
think it's
saying
same grill.
no, I was just curious if folks do that.
As far as the shade structures go, what's the maintenance on that or durability?
So the maintenance, actually, let's see here.
Definitely a question I asked as well while we were talking about them.
Yeah, so the service life with proper maintenance is 20 years with them. They're relatively low maintenance, and these, like the actual shade pieces, those detach. So they can just remove those, store them for the winter, and then reinstall them when in spring.
So somebody has to take them down every year and put them back up.
And remember where we
Yes.
put them, right, Daryl? And remember where we put them?
You're saying they don't easily tear, or
No, I don't think they.
you're saying they have probably about a 20-year lifespan, and by then maybe the trees are grown in?
Yeah, and they are mesh materials, so air is able to get through them. But certainly we'll have to look at what the manufacturer's recommendations are as far as wind is concerned, and be aware if there is maintenance or we need to maybe unhook one of the sides during storms. Those will all be considerations that we'll have to look at, because it definitely will have some upkeep. If we don't maintain it, 20 years is not going to be their service life.
I like the idea of the shade structures, especially as the trees are growing in. I just remember multiple times being at a playground and be like, especially the new ones, and the trees just are not big enough. But to that question, do we have enough trees where maybe in the future the trees are providing the shades instead of the structures? And I'm thinking splash pad, it doesn't look like there's any trees over there.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something from a landscaping perspective that we can add to the site. I would think once we get the trees installed, we should reevaluate, whether or not we want to bring in some additional. I might know, oh, he's not here anymore, but I might know someone who could take a look at it to see if that would be a benefit.
Yeah, so my recollection when we were going through the design process, mostly we were trying to get, I think, trees for screening and more so than shade. And the idea was that we would do shade structures to support that. I think there was some concern about getting trees too close to the splash pad because they can be dirty.
Leaves.
Yeah, and that
Okay.
creates a problem in terms, yeah, so.
Yeah, I
So,
would
yeah,
with the
well-
roots as well.
I should say,
Underneath.
because those roots can get wobbly.
Good call.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if we want to do shade structures for playgrounds, they have a million to choose from. So that's kind of where we're at and so far with the grant funding, but yeah.
Something that we mentioned before that I'd be interested in learning more about financially is if it would be possible to put in seating like they have at the dinosaur park, the dinosaur splash pad in Delaware. They have like permanent seats and tables. And if we're gonna have shade, it would be nice to have somewhere for the adults to sit.
Yeah, because in addition, we were talking about like adding, they're not permanent, but more benches and maybe some picnic tables over there. But we can look into the permanent.
I'm just curious, since Delaware did it, let's see what they did and what it would cost, and is it possible with our engineering people with their spacing and stuff?
So maybe just a quick point on the status of the J.R. Smith Park. So we
Mhm.
talked about grant funding, but where are we on the construction piece? And that is one of the things Adam's getting very familiar with, J.R. Smith Park, for better or worse.
Mhm.
Do you have that?
Okay.
That's in our monthly
Oh,
update.
we do have that later. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I'm happy to give it now, though, if you would like.
No.
No? Okay. If funding-
We'll just we'll move on to. Okay, so we're good with the grant update. The update was what we're thinking about adding. Okay, moving on to Sunbury Sizzle and Sound, which if you've looked at your agenda, they are coming tonight.
Yes.
So probably not a ton we need to get into because they're gonna talk at council, but it's just probably like it's on our matrix, I suppose, to bring it to the parks meeting, but we'll hear more from Civic themselves this evening. And you can ask your questions then if you have any.
Yep.
Okay, we have a monthly park update. And so that your sizzle stuff is in here as well. But then it looks like the park update starts on page 37. Melissa, is this you?
Yeah, sorry, we're getting the slides pulled up. Okay, so Freedom Park. So I was out there earlier back in July and I noticed there were new bridges. Not sure who put them out there or where they came from, but there's, yeah, a nice new bridge, a new walking path type thing. So that is out at Freedom Park. Next one. Now we have the J.R. Smith Park update.
Those bridges, you're referring to the disc golf course?
Yes, yeah, the disc golf course.
Yeah, so J.R. Smith Park is moving along. If you were along State Route 37 last week, they were moving fill. Offsite, we ended up with just over 100 truckloads, about 12 cubic yards per truck coming in. So it was quite the race. But we also had our public works team move dirt from the wastewater treatment plant because we are removing a lot of excavation material for the clarifier installation down there. It's a 70-foot diameter clarifier that's about 20 feet deep. So it's a massive hole. We have a lot of excess dirt that the plan is to just mound it between the wastewater treatment plant and the middle school. So our team moved 40 truckloads. They're slightly smaller trucks than some of the offsite loads, but we were happy to, that they were able to contribute and help with this process. About half of the 100 trucks came from our wastewater treatment plant as well. So we were able to negotiate a lower fee because they were able to get dirt at a much closer location, but they still had to pay the hauling company and load the material themselves. So really happy that our contractor Simonson and of course our members of the wastewater treatment plant were very welcoming, so that we could coordinate and benefit the city and save a little bit of money. Status of the park, with all that dirt, we are able to really start to look for some vertical components. If you go out there today, you will see pipes that are coming up from the ground where the splash pad is going to be. Splash pad provider has been out getting ready to get that installed. I don't know if it's being poured later this week or next, but I'm going to try and find out and hopefully bring some pictures for that component. Same with the shelter house as well. They've worked on the underground connections, so we should be seeing some vertical movement there as well. And
Substantial completion.
Timeline for the park is still looking at October, with the caveat that they'll have some internal components at the shelter house to complete.
Reservoir Park, the sign will be installed tomorrow. So we'll get pictures of that once it's completed. Sunbury Memorial
I
Park.
have a question about the reservoir park. Is there, I assume no, any easy way to maintain the paths that are around the reservoirs, the walking paths? Because some of them they're just so cracked. And we haven't had them for that long, but I don't know if that material just cracks easily. If there would be any point in repairing them, would they just crack again? They're
Yeah.
close to water, there's lots of animals up there, birds, so I don't know, but some of them it's pretty unsightly for how pretty the area is to walk on. It is.
Yeah, I know we discussed whether or not we could put some rejuvenator down on some of the paths in the city. It's something that I can have the manufacturer for that fill, that black surface resurfacing agent come and give a quote and also assess whether or not it makes sense. Oftentimes you use a rejuvenator on a surface that's maybe 2-3 years old.
Yeah.
But it's certainly something that with a surface that isn't being as heavily traveled as a road, we may be able to utilize that as a way to.
Yeah, I'm just
save
curious.
money.
Some of the areas, they look brand new, and then some of people are walking on one side. I mean, you have to get around. I don't know what it is, but some of the areas are pretty bad.
Yeah.
Some are beautiful. Okay, thank you.
That's worth doing. I will say, I know last year when I talked to Jake a little bit about this, this and the other trails, I think we did go out and do some crack repair work on the other trails, but we didn't do it on this particular one. And I don't really know why. So we'll follow up with Jake to see if maybe he thought maybe he just didn't get to it, and we'll try to get to it this year. But I do like the idea of some kind of a, rejuvenator or something to help preserve the asphalt.
Yeah, that looks pretty bad.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys have been down there during the day or in the evening, but that floating dock is getting a lot of use.
Oh, good.
Good. My kids, their friends out, sometimes they don't like going down there because there's too many people on it. So it's definitely getting
That's good.
its use, yeah. And I was walking, obviously, on the path, and I saw a kid, I don't know, 16, 17 years old, and he pulled out a fish, and it was, whoa, it was like, I mean, I could see it from up where I was, and it was really impressive. They're having a lot of fun down there. Yeah.
Sunbury Memorial Park, at the events committee, we discussed the unmarked but unforgotten memorial being moved into the cemetery.
I think are we talking about that tonight too?
Yeah, it's on the agenda.
And then we also
Have you talked any more about that little building? I don't remember which committee we were in when we talked about that. Is that this?
Who's this one?
Yeah, it's probably gonna be this committee. We haven't talked a lot more about it. I think other than, again, I don't think the recommendation is to save the building. I think the
Okay.
recommendation is to take the building down, preserve the marble, for maybe some other use in the future. We just haven't, I think, executed on that.
Okay, I was just curious.
There's also-
Now I see the building every time. I never noticed it before, but
Yeah,
okay.
so we need to have Jake prioritize that a little bit more. I think he would like to get that building down. I mean, it's a little bit of a risk. I mean, there's some risk associated with it because when we had the structural
The structural evaluation team.
last year, they were saying that the marble was starting to pull away from the brick a little bit. So again, we want to try to not only
And we don't keep anything in the building?
don't. Yeah, so we've
At
moved
some
off-
point, somebody probably did.
Well, we did originally. It used to be where they would store the mowers and any
Now we don't.
equipment they had to maintain the cemetery.
Okay,
But yeah, whatever they've got now, they've moved to that back building.
okay, thank you.
And we also had 3 burials for this month. For Town Square. Town Square, we had the second Saturday market, the Young Makers and Family Market. Although it rained, they did have a great turnout, so it was great to see all those people come out and support them. On our historical marker sign, there is a crack on it. So Jake is working on getting that fixed. And then the 4th of July parade, while it wasn't actually on the square, just figured I'd include that. It was a great turnout. I also believe it was the largest parade that we've had so far. So.
Based on number of participants or.
Yeah, like. Number.
Floats or
Yeah.
these floats.
Floats. And then, next slide, so. We had a couple of service days in July. The first one is City North Church. They were on Sunday, July 12th, and they cleaned the waterway at the cemetery. They also cleaned some headstones, and then they also painted the bridges at the Fallen Heroes Memorial and the bridge that the Eagle Scout built at the Kinslow Disc Golf Course. And then we had Bright City Church on Saturday, July 18th. They did the mulch rings around the square. So, but I didn't have any pictures for the service day,
So you put a picture of yourself in there.
and some more 4th of July.
Notice.
And there's lemon, that's lemon.
Yeah.
So fill in the blank space.
Yeah, so we appreciate that the service team was able to increase the size of the tree rings. I know that has been a topic
Mhm.
for some time.
Yeah.
Aaron
Mr.
said-
Bennett know that.
Yeah, Aaron said before he left, how much he liked seeing the tree rings out there. The other thing I would note that's not on here, Bright City Church was going to begin to paint some of the bases
Mhm.
of the poles. They've gotten beat up over time with just mowing, trimming, whatever kind of happens around it. I am pleased to say that the service team started painting some of the bases. And if you look up here on Cherry Street, going toward the 90-degree turn there, on the right-hand side, they've started to paint those. And they
You're
look,
talking about like the curb? What do you?
no, not the curb. So they did some curb painting, but I'm talking about the light poles. So
Oh,
the
okay.
decorative light poles, actually some of them even, I guess, they also are the signal poles as well. Just the lower level, the lower portion of it, you'll note that there's kind of this, I don't know. What am I trying to say? It's like I don't know. It's a cover over the base of the
And they
pole
were
itself.
painting them.
They're painting those, and they've been beat up and looked pretty bad for some time. So they're gonna work their way all the way up Cherry Street. They'll get to some of those that are out, farther to the west, but they've started out down here. So you need
I
to
saw them
look at
painting
those.
curbs
Yeah.
too, so.
Yeah. Which I like.
Okay, so, for our monthly tree updates, so for tree pruning, They pruned 65 little leaf linden trees along Woodchuck and Fairland. So there's some nice before and after pictures. And then
Our streets department,
I believe Aaron did. Aaron and Streets. I think it was Aaron. And then some other forestry updates. They did mulch some tree rings around the trees at Evening Street and along West Granville Street. They also planted 6 new arborvitaes at the Columbus Street parking lot. We have some potential tree removals on Saffron, in North Vernon Street, and then also over at Old Church Park. So those will be evaluated soon. And then Jake is also reviewing the nursery for the large caliper trees for the square. So we're hoping to get something for planting in the fall. And that,
So you may remember that dates back to when we took the tree down earlier this year, a commitment to put larger trees in. So they are, looking for as large a trees as they can get to get into space. I think they've identified the species. They just trying to find the trees themselves. So.
okay, anything else from staff?
that is all the updates I had.
Anything from the committee? I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll motion.
Thank you.
A second?
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Yes.
3 yeas, meeting adjourned.